I'm Anil Kumar. Welcome to my series on solutions to international test papers. Now, this is part of our global learning where we try to understand how mathematics is treated in different parts of the world. Now, this test paper is international GCSE foundation level. Now, here calculator is allowed, and for middle school students, these are excellent questions. So I'd like you to go through these questions, answer them. You're allowed calculator and you're also given formulas to be used. So these are the formulas which are provided. You may have a look at this formula, make a copy. They may be useful in solving some of the questions which appear in this test paper. I'll first share with you the questions and then provide complete solution. The duration of this test paper is 2 hours. So this video could be about 2 hours long. At some places, extended explanation may be given. And at the end, I'll also share with you some links for related questions. I hope that helps. Thanks for your time and enjoy the series on solving papers of international standards. Thank you and all the best. Here is question number 1. The diagram shows a shape on a centimeter grid. Find the area of the shape. Now to find the area, you can pause the video, answer this question, then look into my solutions. So let's go through the questions. So the other questions are to find the perimeter of the shape, write down the order of rotational symmetry of the shape, and on the shape draw all the lines of symmetry. Okay? So these are the 4 parts to your question. Let's answer them one by one. So the very first one is to find the area of the shape. You need to count the squares and the unit is centimeters. So it's good practice to write units also. Fortunately, you are actually given units here, centimeter square, along wherever you have to write the answer, right? So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So we get 16 centimeter square is already mentioned. Then we need to find the perimeter. That means you start from a point. Let's say you start from here, right? So go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, and 1, 26. So write down your answer 26 at the given space. Next one is write down the order of symmetry. So when we talk about order of rotational symmetry, it's kind of important to understand order of rotational symmetry, right? Now, rotational symmetry really means that within 0 to 360 degrees, that means one full rotation, how many positions are there when you get exactly the same shape, right? So one could be if you rotate it like 90 degrees, right? So if you rotate it 90 degrees, then you might get right, or what? So what you have here is, if you do rotation symmetry, then what you get, these are the 2 axes about which this is symmetrical, right? So that is part D. But anyway, as far as the rotational symmetry is concerned, in this particular figure, we have rotation symmetry of 2, right? So that is to say, you have to rotate it 180 degrees and then one full circle, correct? So then you get the rotation symmetry and the answer is 2. So the order of rotation symmetry is 2. Part D is on the shape, draw all the lines of symmetry. Well, the lines of symmetry which I drawn earlier, vertical line symmetric about, and then this horizontal line is also a line of symmetry for the given figure. So these are the 2 lines of symmetry, right? So we have 2 lines of symmetry here, which you could mention, but drawing was essential. Now let's look into question number 2, which is, the table shows the weights of 7 animals, right? So this is column for animals, their weight. Which of these animals has the greatest weight? Write the number 2506 in words. Write down the value of 7 in the number 2371. While the other questions are related to information, well, some of them are related to the table. Let me read them all. Write the number 1154 correct to the nearest 100. Which number in the table is a multiple of 5? And then the last question here is, work out the difference between the weight of giraffe and the weight of buffalo. So let's answer these questions one by one. The very first one is, which of these animals has the greatest weight? So all are given in kg. We have to only figure out which is the highest number. Well, the highest number here is 8491. So which of these has the greatest weight? It is elephant. So our answer here is elephant. Second question is, write the number 2506 in words, right? So the number 2506 is 2506. So we write this as 2000. Now, here is an option. Some places do not write and, some places do. So what I will do here, so 2500, I could have written 6 or and 6, right? So these that is optional, right? Is that clear? You may or may not write and, it means the same thing, and both are correct. C. Write on the value of 7 in the number 2370. So place value is 10, so this number is 70. Write the number 1154 correct to nearest 100. So we have to round it to nearest 100. You need to check the number next to it. So 10th number is 5 or more. We'll round higher. So we get 1200. The next question is, which number in the table is multiple of 5? Multiples of 5 means they should end with 5 or 0. So the number which ends with 5 here is 785. So that is the number which is multiple of 5. Clear? So let's write down that answer, which is 785. The last question is, work out the difference between the weight of giraffe and the weight of buffalo. So let's work out here weight of giraffe and weight of buffalo. So buffalo is 851, giraffe is 1391. So it is 1391, take away 851. Okay. So when you take away, you get 4 here, and then 13 gives you 5, right? So get 540, right? So the answer here is, which we will write lower. Let me just finish it off by writing here 540, right? The units are kg, which is good to mention. So I hope with this, the solution to that question is absolutely clear. Perfect. Now let's take question number 3. Here are first 5 terms of a number sequence, 3, 10, 17, 24, 31. Write down the next 2 terms of the sequence. Okay, so next 2 terms, 3, 10, 17. So we see that it's going up by 7, right? So you add 7 to get to the next term. So the next 2 terms, just add 7 to them and you can write down the answer. 31 plus 7 is 38, right? And 38 plus 7 is 45. So that is how we'll get the next 2 terms. So the next 2 terms are 38 and 45. Now explain how you worked out your terms, right? So the rule, pattern rule, is add 7 to the previous number. Is that clear? So that is your pattern rule. We also mentioned this as iterative rule, right? So by iteration. So you keep on repeating the same process, keep on adding 7. Now, the question is, work out the 18th term of the sequence. Now see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is 7th term. You could add up to 18th term and get your answer. But now we'll actually find an explicit rule, right? So here is a deviation. We are now looking for an explicit rule. That will be better, right? So let us see how to develop a pattern rule from the given information. We are multiplying by, we are adding 7 each time. So that means adding 7 5 times means 5 times 7 is added. You see that? So you're multiplying by 7. So the rule could be related with 7, right? So that is one way to look into it. So I'll show you 2 methods of writing explicit rule. So let me write method 1 and then method 2. Now this exercise is a learning exercise, and that is why I'm taking opportunity to explain. Now here the first term is 3, right, which we say first term, which let's write it A is 3. Common difference, we call this D. Let this be a variable D, is 7. Right? You are adding 7 each time. So the next term you get by adding multiples of 7, right? So nth term, Tn, will be basically the first term. You can write this as also T1, the first term, right? Or in this formula, I'll write A plus n minus 1 times T. Because, see, moving from first term, this is your first term, this is the second, this is the third. In third term, you added only 2 7s, not 3. 1 less than 3. Do you see that? Then 1 less than 4. So n minus 1 makes it 1 less. So in our case, the nth term will be A is 3 plus n minus 7. You could actually multiply, rearrange. So you get 7 times n minus 7. Or you can write this as 7n minus 4. So you get your formula. Now this formula helps you to find the direct answer. You get the idea, right? Now the calculator is allowed sometimes for such questions. You could use calculator also. Now here is my shortcut method. Since I know that I have to multiply by 7 anyway, so I write my formula kind of direct. I want to find the second term, right? So I say 7 times 2 is 14. How do I get 10? Well, I have to take away 4 to get 10. So I have my rule. So my rule is 7 times the number of term minus 4. Do you see from logic? Again, this is my 4th term, right? I know I have to add 7s. I don't know how many. So 7 times 4 is 28. But I have 24. If I take away 4, I get 24. So I get my rule. So nth term is 7 times the number minus 4. So similarly, if I have to get the 18th term, in that case, what should I do? I'll write T18 as 7 times 18 minus 4. Does make sense to you? Right? So let's do it. 7 times 8 is 56, 5. 7 times 1 is 7 and 5 is 12. 126 minus 4 will give us 122. So that becomes our answer. But this method is very good and you can straight away find from the common difference. Is that clear to you? Right? Okay. Now, part D is work out the 34th term of the sequence. So you can apply this formula and work it out. You can apply that formula also. Both are same, right? So we write the 34th term. Okay, here we have something else. The 35th term of the sequence is 241. Sorry, I didn't read this. The 35th term is 241. Work out the 34th term, right? So we know 35th term is 241. We need to find 34th term. So I'll do just minus 7 to get my answer. Previous, correct? Previous term. So that's an easy way. So 11 take away 7 is 4 and then we get 2, 3, 1. So that will be my answer, right? 234. However, you could have used the explicit formula. So let us check our formula now. So what we will do here is, we'll multiply 35, work out the 34th term, so 7 times 34 and then do minus 4. Okay, 7 times 4 is 28, 7 times 3 is 21, 21 plus 2 is 23. From here we'll take away 4, so what do we get? We get 234, correct? The same answer. So the formula is absolutely correct. Now for some students, this is taught in higher levels, so therefore in this test paper we are working with iterative rule formula. Perfect. So I hope by now things are absolutely clear about the solutions given. Here is question number 4. So here is a bar graph which you need to study and answer the questions below. Question number 4. The bar chart shows information about the number of league titles won by each of the 5 football clubs up to 2016. So number of league titles, and these are different football clubs, right? Related to this, we have 3 questions. A. Write down the number of league titles won by Aston Villa. Aston has won 13 league titles. Draw a bar on the bar chart to show this information. Alex says the number of league titles won by Manchester City is 1/4 of the number of league titles won by Manchester United. Explain why Alex is wrong. So let's look into these solutions one by one. You can always answer them. Okay, so the very first one is write down the number of league titles won by Aston Villa. Now, so this is Aston Villa and that is the number of titles. It is a value right there between 6 and 8, so it is 7, right? So that is answer 7. Now we are given that Arsenal has won 13 league titles. So we have to show 13 here for Arsenal. So 13 is a point which is between 12 and 14, so somewhere here. So whenever we have to draw a bar graph, width should be same. So that is kind of very important to understand. And this distance should also be same, correct? So we mark like this, and let's make a bar here on the right side, and same width, right? So that is kind of important to understand. Same width, use a scale, and that becomes the bar for Arsenal, and that says 13, right? So this goes here, 13. Then we have Alex says the number of league titles won by Manchester City is 1/4 of the number of league titles won by Manchester United. Let's figure it out. Well, Manchester United is 20, right? So let me write 20 here, and Manchester City is 4. Now, what is the ratio? So ratio is 4 divided by 20, which is same as 1/5, correct? So it is not 1/4, but it is 1/5, right? So we can say, well, this is 1/5. Explain why Alex is wrong, right? So it is 1/5. It is 1/5, not 1/4, right? Since we can write down the calculation which we did just now, 4/20 is 1/5. Is that clear to you, right? So that is how you could explain the answer. Now this is part D of our question number 4. The question is, find the ratio of number of league titles won by Manchester United to the number of league titles won by Preston North End. Give your answer in its simplest form, right? So let's look into this. Manchester United, we figured out it is 20. Now what is Preston North End? So Preston North End is 2, right? So that is what it is. So the ratio is 20 to 2, right? So we can now provide the solution here. Find the ratio of number of league titles won by Manchester United. So winnings by Manchester United divided by winnings by Preston North End, which is 20 over 2 and is 10, right? So in the simplest form, it is 10 to 1, correct? Now let's see question number 5, which is, here are a number of runs scored by a cricket player in each of the 9 games of cricket. Find the median number of runs, and part B is, you need to work out the range, right? So these are the two things which you need to figure out. Now to find the median, we have to find the center number when they're arranged in a particular order. So let's try to arrange them in increasing order. So the first step here is to arrange in increasing order. Okay, so let's take 4, the lowest number, and then we have 8, and then we have 13, 16, 22, and then we have 36, 40, 55, and then 89. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 numbers are there. Now for the median, the center number is what? Once arranged, there are 9 numbers, correct? So you do 9 plus 1 divided by 2, so which is 10 divided by 2, the fifth number, right? Fifth number in this case is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is 22. And therefore, we know that the median is 22. In case there would have been 10 numbers, we would have got 2 numbers in the center and the average would be the median, correct? Okay, now part B is to work out the range. To find the range, we have to find the difference between the highest minus lowest, correct? Now in this case, the highest number is 89, so we'll do 89, take away, the lowest is 4. So we get here as 82. So the range is 82. Right? So that is how we will actually solve this question. Now let's take question number 6. The table shows the midday temperature in each of the 5 cities on Tuesday 1 week. Which of these cities has the lowest temperature? Now this is about integers. So we have temperatures which are positive and negative. This is not really required, but we are just showing it on a scale. So on a scale, positive temperatures, if you write right on the up, let's say this is 25, that is the highest. The lower temperatures, let's say this is the temperature which is minus 30. Then in that case, the temperatures would be around, let's say, minus 11, minus 2, and minus 5. Correct? So these are the 5 temperatures shown. Now the question is, which of these cities had the lowest temperature? So the lowest is this, minus 30, Yellowknife, right? So this is the lowest temperature. And the city is Yellowknife. So we'll write the answer as Yellowknife. Part B is, work out the difference between the temperature in Dhaka and the temperature in Moscow. So we want to relate these two, temperature in Dhaka and in Moscow. So the difference between this 5 and 25 and minus 5, right? So it is, you can see, more than 25, right? So 25 minus 25. So this temperature will be 25 in Dhaka, take away negative 5, right? So the difference becomes 30 degrees. Now the next part of the question is, by midday on Wednesday, the temperature in Anchorage had fallen by 6 degrees. Work out the temperature in Anchorage at midday on Wednesday. So encouraged temperature is minus 11. So from minus 11, it goes down by 6 degrees. So it will reduce by 6. So minus 11 minus 6, it becomes further negative, right? So it is minus 17. So we get this temperature as minus 17 degrees Celsius. Is that clear to you, right? So that is how you're going to answer this question. So it becomes much lesser. So in integers, lesser means on this scale going downwards, right? So if this is 0 degrees, in that case going up will be positive temperatures, and below 0, lower is as far away from 0, right? Downwards. Question number 7. Shade 1/4 of the shape. Write 40% as a decimal. So first we need to shade 1/4. 1/4 means 1 out of 4. So let's find how many triangles can we have here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now there are 8 congruent triangles, correct? Now 1/4 of 8 is what? 1/4 of means times 8 means 2. So we have to shade 2 of them. So you could shade any 2 of them, correct? So let's shade these 2. So that is 1/4. Now we need to write 40% as a decimal. So 40% is basically 40 divided by 100, correct? So you can divide like this. So you get 4 out of 10. When you divide 4 by 10, you get this as 0.4, right? So that becomes 40%. So that is our answer. We can write here 0.4. So let's move on. Take the next question. Now remember, calculator is allowed for this test paper. So you could use calculator also. B equals to 6E minus 3F. Work out the value of B when E is 3.2 and F is minus 4. So the value of B will be equal to 6 times 3.2 minus 3 times minus 4, right? Substitute the values. Now that becomes 6 times 2 as 12, 1 decimal. 6 times 3, 18, plus 1, 19. Minus and minus becomes plus 12, right? So this could be written as, so after decimal we have like 12.0, right? 0.2, 9 plus 2 is 11, 1, 1, 2, and 1, 3. So we get 31.2 as our answer, right? Now let's take question number 8. You can always pause the video, copy the question, solve, and then look into my suggestions. Question number 8. From the numbers in the box, write down a factor of 120, find the cube root of 32768, write down a prime number. Now 30 itself is a factor of 120, right? So the answer here is 30. We know we could divide 120 by 30. It goes 4 times, right? So 30 times 4 is 120. So we could get first answer as 30, right? So that becomes our answer. Part B is find the cube root of 32768. Now cube root is you need to multiply some number 3 times itself, right? So then you should get 8 at the end, right? So 32 seems to be the right answer, since you know what is 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. So we are ending with 8. You get the idea, right? Since you are ending with 8, that should be the right answer. So the cube root should be 32, right? Now write down a prime number. 31, as we know, is the prime number. So 31 is the answer for this one. Question number 9 here is A, B, C are points on a circle with center O. We need to write down the mathematical name of the line O to C. Well, that is radius, right? And part 2 is measure the size of the angle marked as X. So you can use a protractor to measure this angle, correct? So in this paper, you do need a geometry box, especially a protractor, set square, and a ruler. So you can place it here and measure it. So it is definitely less than 30 and can be 22 degrees, correct? So this angle is, 28 degrees. 2 degrees less, sorry. See, let's do it again. Right. It is 2 degrees less than 30, so it is 28 degrees, right? So it is 28 degrees. So that is our answer. So we can write this as 28 degrees. Now let's take the next question, which is question number 10. Now the next question here is, in the diagram, ABCD is a quadrilateral. DA and CB are parallel lines. So DA and CB are parallel lines. AFD and EFCG are straight lines. So this is a straight line, that one is also a straight line. Note, diagram is not accurately drawn. Now the question for you is, find the size of angle Y. So we need to find this angle. Okay. And part 2 of this question is to give reasons for your answer, right? So let's first find angle Y. Now since EFCD is a straight line, so we see EFCG is a straight line, correct? So that means this total angle should be 180 degrees, right? So that means the angle EFC equals to 180 degrees, right? So this angle as a whole should be equal to 180 degrees. So how much is Y? So Y is equal to 180 degrees, take away 150 degrees. So that gives us 30 degrees, correct? So we get 30 degrees as our answer. We need to give reason for your answer. Reason is this, right? A straight line is 180 degrees, right? So part angle is, so it's a supplementary angle. With 150 degrees. So it is total be 180 minus 150, right? So the combination is 180. Part C is find the size of angle W. Now angle W is how much? So if you look at it, we have these two as parallel sides. So angle W should be equal to 150 degrees, right? Since it is a corresponding angle, right? This is a corresponding angle. So find the size of angle W. It is 150 degrees, and the reason is that it is a corresponding angle. Correct? So when you have parallel lines and a transverse line, then the corresponding angles are equal. Question number 10. Here is a probability scale. A fair ordinary dice is thrown once. On the probability scale, mark with a cross the probability that the dice will land on a number less than 7. Label this cross as A. Well, in ordinary die, there are numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, when you're saying less than 7, it is 100% or 1. So the position is this, right? And we'll mark this as A. Clear? Second part is, on the probability scale, mark with a cross the probability that the dice will land on an odd number. So out of 6 numbers, the odd numbers are 1, 3, and 5. So 3 out of 6, right? So 3 out of 6 is half. So at half, we'll mark this as a cross and write down B. Is that clear to you? Now, Another part of this question is, here is a biased three-sided spinner. So red, blue and green. When the spinner is spun, it can land on red or on blue or on green. The table shows the probability that the spinner lands on red and the probability that the spinner lands on blue, right? These two are given to us. Now Roshan spins the spinner once. Work out the probability that the spinner lands on green. So we need to find this probability, right? Now it is important to note that this is a biased spinner, right? So it is not 1/3, it's different. But we know that the probability of all the events combined together is 1, and therefore the answer should be 1 takeaway 0.3 plus 0.25, correct? So it is 1 takeaway 0.55, correct? So that gives you, when you borrow from here, so you get 0. So when you take away from this 5, 10, so you get this, and from 9 you get 4, so you get 45%. So probability of getting green is 45% or 0.45. Is that clear to you, right? So work out the probability. So it is, you can write probability as, let me write it here, 0.45 or 45%. Okay, so let's take up now the question number 11. Now this is simplification. Simplify x squared plus x squared plus x squared. There are 3x squares, it is 3x squared, correct? Next is simplify 4e plus 2f minus 6e plus 7f. We have to combine like terms, correct? Combine like terms. So like terms here are e's and f's, right? So we could do like this. 4e minus, we could write like this, 4e minus 6e, then we have plus 2f plus 7f. So 4 minus 6 is minus 2, right? So minus 2e, 7 plus 2 is 9, so plus 9f. So we get this as minus 2e plus 9f, correct? Part C is to simplify 2 times a times 4 times b. So we can multiply 2 and 4, we get the number 8 and ab, right? So we get 8ab as our answer, right? Solve for w, right? So when you say solve, you have to find the value of the unknown variable, which is w in this case. So what we can do here is, we have w over 4 equals to 12. Since we need the value of w, we can multiply by 4 on both the sides, correct? So this 4 cancels and we get w equals to 4 times 12, which is 48. So 48 is our answer. The last question is solve for y. And this time we are given 5y plus 2 equals to 14. So we have to use more than one step to solve. So we are given 5y plus 2 equals to 14. We can take away 2. So we get 5y equals to 14 minus 2. That is 5y equals to 12. Now we can divide by 5. So we get 12 over 5 as our answer. So you could write this answer as 12 over 5. Or you could just divide by 5 and then write down the answer in decimals, right? So 5 times 2 is 10 and 20 is 4. So you could write here as 2.4 or 12 over 5, right? Both are same. So that completes half of our test paper. Now let's take the later half, starting with question number 12 after a break. Now I hope you understand and appreciate what we're doing here. The whole idea is to get the concepts for solving such a paper. In case you have any doubts, you can always email me on the address given here. Feel free to write your comments and share your views. Thanks for your time. Now in this foundation level test paper, the calculator is allowed. So you may use calculator in the following questions to solve. Question number 12 here is, Michael, Julie, and Allison went to eat in a restaurant. The total cost of their meal was $120. Michael paid 1/6 of the total cost. Julie paid 35% of the total cost. Allison paid the rest of the total cost. Work out how much Allison paid. So let's begin with how much Michael paid. 1/6 of. So Michael paid, so let me write M, what Michael paid. 1/6 of means times 120, correct? So you could simplify this. 6 times 2 is 12. So $20 was paid by Michael. 35% was paid by Julie. So 35% of 120. That means 35 over 100 times 120. Correct? So that much was paid. So you could cancel this. And at this stage, it is better to use calculator, right? So let's do 35 times 12 divided by 10, and we get $42. Now alternate will be, we could do 35% as 0.35 times 120. Correct? So let's do it like that also. 0.35 times 120 is equal to same amount, which is $42, right? So the amount paid by Julie was $42. Total is 120. So Allison will pay how much? So for Allison, from 120, we'll take away what is paid by the others. So which is 20 plus 42, right? So we get here 120 minus 62, and that is 120 minus 62 equals to 58. So we get $58 was paid by Allison, right? So we'll write Allison paid $58. Question number 13. Amrish arrived at Bangkok train station at 6:07 p.m. Write 6:07 p.m. as a time using 24-hour clock, right? So in 24-hour clock, we'll add 12 hours, right? This is p.m., right? Therefore, 6:07. So we get 18:07, correct? So we write this as 18:07. In 24-hour clock, we write this as 18:07. Amrish train left Bangkok station at 7:35. How many minutes are there between 6:07 and 7:35? So we'll take away to find the difference. So basically we have 7:35 take away 6:07. So these are the minutes, right? These are hours and these are minutes. Okay. So when you borrow from here, it becomes 2. That becomes 15. So it is 8, 2, and 1, right? So it is 1 hour and 28 minutes. So we can write here, the answer is 1 hour and 28 minutes, right? Amrish's train left Bangkok station at 7:35. His train journey lasted 8 hours 42 minutes. At what time did Amrish's train journey end? So we'll add the time it lasted to get the answer. Correct? You need to give your answer in 12-hour clock, right? AM and PM. Okay. So it is 7:35 PM and his journey lasted 8 hours. So let's do 7:35 plus 8 hours and 42 minutes, right? So what we get here is 5 plus 2, 7. This is also 7, and when we add 8 and 7, we get 15. So 15 hours, 77 minutes. Now it was PM, right? That means we have already crossed 12. Do you see that part, correct? Second, we have 77 minutes here. You need to convert this to hours and minutes. So it is 77 can be written as 60 plus 17, right? So 16 is like 1 hour and 17 minutes. So what we get here is 16 hours and 17 minutes, correct? So 16 is 4 more than 12, right? Therefore, we could write this as 4:17 a.m. Is that clear to you? So the time will be in a.m. now, right? Since the total is more than 12, so that means now it is the next day starting, correct? So 4:17 a.m. will be your answer. Is that clear to you? Question number 14 is factorize. Now here we'll see in these two examples how to factorize. In factorization, we take common factors. 10, 8 plus 25. Now 5 is common, correct? You could write this as 5 times 2. So 5 is common. So it becomes 5 times 2a plus 5 times 5 is 25. So that is your answer, right? So I'm not writing here, but I'll write all the answers here this time. 7w square minus 4w. So w is common, right? So we can take w common. So you can take numbers common. You can take the variables common or both of them if possible. So when you take w common, you get 7w here minus 4. Now part C is to expand p squared times p. So when you expand, you need to multiply with both. So we get p squared times p minus p squared times 5. So what you get here is equal to p cubed minus 5p squared. Now it is a good practice to write numbers before the variables. The last one here is to expand. Let's put it here. X minus 3 times x plus 7. So first you multiply by x. So you could write this as x times x plus 7 and then with minus 3 x plus 7, right? Now we'll expand as we did earlier. So we get x squared plus 7x minus 3x minus 21. So when you multiply plus and minus, it becomes negative. Now we can combine the like terms. We get x squared. 7x minus 3x is 4x minus 21. Do you see? So that becomes your answer. Perfect. Okay. So what you see is a figure, and we'll be working about rotation and also dilation or enlargement of the object about the given point. The question really is this. On the grid, enlarge shape P with scale factor 2 and center 7, 3. Label the new shape Q. On the grid, rotate shape P through 90 degrees anti-clockwise about the point 7, 3. Label the new shape as R, right? So we need to do both the things here. So that's a very good question to work on. So let's first do enlargement, right? So we'll work on enlargement. Let me choose a color. You are actually supposed to write only in black ink when you solve this particular type of questions here in the test paper. However, we are going to use different inks to illustrate how to solve, right? So we'll do part A, which is enlarge the shape, right? So we'll do now enlarge. With scale factor of 2, right? So twice it should look like, right? Since we are given, this is a point 7, 3, right? So that's the point on which we have to work. So this point is 7, 3 for us. 7 on the x-axis, 3 on the y-axis. So enlarge basically means we could actually draw lines. It'd be within a triangle, similar triangle. The outer triangle will be twice, right? So let us say we are working on this quadrant. Quadrant 1 point given to us is this one. Let's call this point as A. The point is 1, 2, 3, 4 units from the reference point 7, 3. So when you enlarge, it will move two times. It will be 8 away, 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this point will appear at this position, correct? Now with reference to this, we can actually get the other point. Now here it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So from here we have to go 6 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you get a point and you see the image. Instead of being 2 units, has now become 4 units. So that is the meaning of scale factor 2. Is that clear to you, right? So let us sketch this. So we get this one part of it, kind of like this. Now, let's also get another reference point. So if you look at it, going straight like this, well, let's look into this point now, right? So that is, we already covered these 2 points. Now let's focus on this. Now this particular point is how much away from here? Well, you could go like 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, right? So 3 times. So we get from here, you go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. That's it. So you get to the next point, which should be right there. Okay. So we get this as a point. So let's connect this. So once we get this, we can actually complete our figure. Here, from here we have to go up, but it will be 2 units up, right? So we have to go 2 units up. So everything is 2. So instead of 1, I have to go 2 units, correct? And here also we can kind of complete and get our diagram. Do you see that? So that becomes our image, right? And we have to mention this as Q. Perfect. Now it's a good idea to write all the quadrants and the coordinates. So you may like to write the coordinates of these vertices to complete your answer. Is that clear to you? Perfect. So you could do like this. Some of you may also draw lines and then, sketch the points. For example, from here if you measure, then you can get the points twice away, right? That's one way. But better way is to count the squares. So that way, you're fairly independent of any other instrument and you can easily do your work. So that is the first part. Now, the second part of this question is, on the grid, rotate shape P through 90 degrees anti-clockwise. Means we have to rotate it kind of like this, right? So that is anti-clockwise. So if something is here, it goes to that point, correct? So the idea is, if you do this rotation, then any point which is x, y here, once rotated, we get a negative value, right? So it becomes a negative, but y comes first. This point, y becomes x and x becomes y when you rotate counterclockwise by 90 degrees, right? So you could use this particular transformation to get your new quadrants. That is one thing very good. Okay, but here, now what you also see is that the rotation, point of rotation is not the origin. This transformation is possible if you have the point as the point of rotation matches with your origin. Now in this particular case it doesn't. Then what should we do? Well, let's create another coordinate axis, right? So what we will do here is that we'll think about a new quadrant. So here we have another coordinate axis. So that is a new coordinate axis. Let this point be O dash, new origin, right? So think about the figure given to you with this coordinate axis. Then it becomes simpler. Perfect. Do you get the idea, right? And now think about rotating everything by 90 degrees. So that is what we are looking for. Is that clear to you? So as you can see from what we just showed you, this particular point A, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 away, will now be 4 down. So 1, 2, 3, 4 will come at this position, correct? Now this position, which is 6 down, will be 2 more 6 down, right? So that is how you will get the new position. So the point, let me call this as B. In that case, that will become A dash B dash after 90 degrees counterclockwise rotation. So I get one edge of the shape. You get an idea, right? Okay. Now, let's apply the transformation technique and check the other points, right? So let's say we work on this point. Now from here, if I have to reach this point, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then up 1, 2, 3. So this point from here is basically, from here, I'm checking with here, right? It is basically minus 6 and 3 up, right? So if I have to go for a rotation, then basically I'll flip this so it becomes 3 and it will become minus 6, and I have to change this to negative 3. So that really means that from here I go 3 units left, 1, 2, 3, and then 6 units down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I reach this place, correct? So that becomes my position of this point. Does make sense to you, correct? So that becomes the position. So I like you to really look into it, how I got this point. Right? So we get this edge, which I'll call as BC, and let me call this as C dash. Perfect. Now actually, it is much simpler to sketch the whole thing. You need not get into the details, but you could do it. And now we can just sketch the whole thing as the figure, which should look like this. We have to maintain the shape, right? It is absolutely congruent shape. Perfect. And we'll call this as R. Only thing is that the orientation has changed and has now moved counterclockwise by 90 degrees. So anti-clockwise is also like counterclockwise. Is that clear to you, right? So I hope the steps are absolutely clear. So that is how we have done it, correct? Now, if you want, you can write the final coordinates of all the points. You can label them as D dash, E dash, and F dash, and write down the coordinates of each one of them, right? So for example, in your answer, you can mention A dash will be, now when you answer, you have to answer with the original reference, right? So from here, it is 7 minus 1. Clear? As far as B dash is concerned, it is 7 minus 3. C dash is 4 minus 3. D dash is 4 minus 2. E, the image of E is E dash, which is 6 minus 2. And F dash will be 6 minus 1. So I hope these steps are absolutely clear, right? So these points which we'll put in the solution will be with reference to original origin, right? Now see how we actually did the rotation about an external point. So remember, so when you're talking about rotation about external point, then what you should do is change reference. We call this reference frame with origin at the point, we'll say point about which it has to be rotated, right? Point of interest. So I hope you're getting my point, correct? So the whole idea is we are to look from the external point of view and then rotate the object. Once you rotate the object, you can always read the coordinates of the point on the original frame. You get the idea, right? So that is how we have to do it. So I hope the steps are absolutely clear. Here is question number 16. Here is a list of ingredients needed to make apple and blackberry crumble for 4 people. Rufus wants to make apple and blackberry crumble for 10 people. Work out the amount of apple he needs. Now, make a note. This is for 4 people. You want it for 10 people. So how are you going to do it? Now, one way is that you can find for one person and then multiply by 10 to get for 10 people, right? So let's find all the ingredients for one person, right? So each. So for one person, how much? To find one person, we have to divide all this by 4, right? So we have to divide by 4. Okay. So when you divide 120 by 4, see the calculator is again allowed, right? So you can do 120 divided by 4. You will do 80 divided by 4. 90 divided by 4, 300 divided by 4, and 115 divided by 4, correct? To get all these values. Then you multiply them by 10 to get for 10 people, right? So that is how we'll do it. So let's do using calculator. 120 divided by 4 is 30. 80 divided by 4 is 20. 90 divided by 4 is in decimals 22.5. 300 divided by 4 in decimals is 75. And 115 divided by 4 in decimals is 28.75. Okay? Now we have to write for 10 persons. So for 10 persons, we need to multiply these by 10. Now 10 is like place value change, right? So 30 becomes 300. So we write this as 300. 20 becomes 200. 22.5 becomes 225. That is 750. And that becomes 287.50. It's good practice, correct? So all these units are in grams. So that becomes our answer, right? So I've shown my working here and given the answer here itself. Now, the next part is, Roland makes apple and blackberry crumble for a group of people. He uses 929 grams of blackberries. Work out the number of people in the group. So what we learned here is that we have from this table 28.75 grams for one person, right? So we have 28.75 grams per person, correct? Now he's using 920 grams. So how many persons? So we'll do 920 grams divided by 28.75 grams to get our answer. So when you divide 920 by 28.75, you get 32. So that means total number of persons in the group is 32, right? So we get our answer, total number of persons is 32. Is that clear to you? So we could do it like this. So I hope it makes sense. So let's move on and take the next question, which is question number 17. The table shows information about the length in centimeter of 40 leaves. So length in centimeters, frequency. Total is 40, right? So this total is 40. Write down the modal class. Modal means most frequent. So in this, 14 is the highest number, so that becomes the modal class, right? So the modal class is from 3 to 4, correct? So we could write like this, or we could write as such. We could also write this as modal class is this, correct? Now part B is, work out an estimate for the mean length of the 40 leaves. Give your answer correct to one decimal place. Now this is grouped, so we don't know exactly the 4 persons what is for the 4 leaves, what is the exact length. So therefore we have this term estimate, right? So what we do here is we find the center value. So for each, let me write the center value. So I'm writing this as the center value. So it'd be 0.5 for the first one, 1.5, 2.5, middle value, right? 3.5, and then 4.5. Now we'll assume that all these 4 leaves have a length of 0.5 centimeters. So now, let's say this is the frequency. We'll make a column multiplying this frequency with the number, right? So when you multiply, let's use calculator, we get 4 times 4 times 0.5, here we get 5 times 1.5, and then we'll do 11 times 2.5, and then we'll do 14 times 3.5, and then we'll do 4.5 times 6. Okay, so 4 times 0.5 is 2, 5 times 1.5 is 7.5, 11 times 2.5 is 27.5, then we have 14 times 3.5 is equal to 49, 4.5 times 6 is 27. So we can add them all. So that becomes the total of this, right? Let's add them all. So let's add and write down what we have. 27 plus 49 plus 27.5 plus 7.5 plus 2. And that gives you 113, right? So the average will be 113 divided by 40, right? So that's the average. So we'll divide this by 40 to get our answer. In decimals, it is equal to 2.825, correct? Centimeters. Now it says give your answer to 1 decimal place, right? So it is equal to 2.8 centimeters. Is that clear to you? So that is how we are going to do it. So I hope the steps are clear. So the first step here is to find the center value of each class. Multiply that with the frequency and then find their addition divided by total number of leaves. So the average length will become 113 divided by 40. Round your answer to 1 decimal place, correct? Question number 18. Use your calculator to work out the value of this. Give your answer to 1 decimal place. Now when you do this working, remember to put the brackets here to calculate. Otherwise, do it in steps, right? So that is how you should be doing it, correct? So we could do it in one step. You can put a bracket, as I've shown here, then do 7.3 plus 2.1, bracket close, divided by 6.4, right? So you can do this operation first, and then you add 2.2 square to this, and you get one answer, which is 5047 divided by 800, correct? Give your answer as a decimal. Write down all the figures on your calculator display. So let's put it in decimals as equal to 6.30875. Now it says give your answer to part A correct to 3 significant figures. Now when we say 3 significant figures, then we have to round it in this case to 100th place. So we get this as 6.31. Is that clear to you, right? 3 significant figures. So this is to 3 significant figures. The next question here is question number 19. On the grid, draw the graph of y equals to 2x plus 4 for values of x from -3 to 3. Only from -3 to 3, correct? So let's look into what we can do is we can make a table from these. Now these are straight, this is the equation of straight line. So what you can do here is that you can write down the value of x and calculate. So if I write x equals to -3, what do I get y equals to? So y will be 2 times -3 plus 4, which is -6 plus 4 or -2. For x equals to 3, we get y equals to 2 times 3 plus 4, which is 6 plus 4 equals to 10. So on the graph in -2, -3 minus 2 will be our 1 point, which is this point. And then the other point we can take at 3 as 10, right? So that is the second point. Joining these points, we get our line. It's a good practice to even check for some value in between. So if x is 0, then y should be equal to 4, right? 2 times 0 is 0. So 4 is the y-intercept. So our line should go through 4. Joining these points, we get our straight line. Is that clear to you, right? So that is how we are going to sketch this particular graph. So we'll just join these 3 points to get the graph, right? So remember not to extend it further. So this is a segment, line segment, whose value changes from -3, -2 quadrant to the coordinate value of 3 to 10. Is that clear to you, right? So that is how it will be. Next question. Question number 20. Calculate the length A to C. Give your answer correct to 3 significant figures. Now we are now landing up into trigonometry. So at this level, trigonometry may be a new subject for many of you, right? Now here, we need to find what AC is. So this is a right triangle where AC is the hypotenuse. What we are given here is adjacent side, right? Since we are given adjacent side, we can use cos. Now cos of 22 will be equal to adjacent over, which is 14.9 over AC, correct? So cos theta is adjacent over hypotenuse. So if you look from angle 22, that is the right angle. So this becomes adjacent side. Now we can cross multiply and find the value of AC. So AC will be equal to 14.9 divided by cos of 22 degrees. It has to be longer, right? It is more than 14.9. Remember, 14.9 divided by cosine 22 equals to 16.07. Okay. We need to write to 3 significant figures. So we'll round this to 16.1, correct? Units are centimeters. Is that clear to you? So that is how we are going to answer this particular question. So I'd like you to go through this once again. Remember, AC is the hypotenuse. We are expecting answer which is more than 14.9, right? So cosine is the trigonometric ratio which is used here since adjacent and hypotenuse are involved. Perfect. Round your answer to 3 significant places. Question number 21 is to use ruler and compass to construct the bisector of angle PQR. You must show all your construction lines. So let's do it. Now to bisect an angle, we need to have a compass as shown here. So I'll show you the whole work here. We need to keep it at Q and make an arc to cut the 2 rays, right? So at those points, we can again keep the compass with the same arc. We have to cut the arc right in the center. Once you do that, we get a point which can be joined with the vertex Q. And once you join that, that becomes the bisector of the angle, correct? So that is how we do it. So let's join. So from Q to this point. So that becomes the bisector. Is that clear to you? So that is how we bisect it. Let's call this point as M. So that becomes the bisector. That means these 2 angles will be equal. So I hope the steps are absolutely clear. Question number 22. This is the last question of this test paper. In 2014, Donald's weekly pay was $640. In 2015, Donald's weekly pay was $668.80. Work out the percentage increase in Donald's pay between 2014 and 2015. So percentage increase is what? Is change in pay over initial or original, right? Times 100. That is how you find percentage increase. So change is from 640 to 668. So we'll do 668.80 minus 640. Our original was 640, or initial you can write, times 100, correct? So that is how we get percentage change. So it is 668.80 minus 640 divided by 640 times 100. So that gives you 9/2. So let's do it in decimals, which is 4.5. So we have a percentage change of 4.5%. Now part B, next part is, in 2015, Donald's weekly pay was 95% of his weekly pay in 2016. Work out Donald's weekly pay in 2016. So let in 2016 the pay be P, right? Now it says in 2015 the pay was actually 668.80. So what they are saying is 668.80 is 95% of the pay in 2016. Is that clear to you? So that means 668.80 is equal to 0.95 times P, correct? So the value of P will be equal to 668.80 divided by 0.95. So you expect higher value, right? 668.8 divided by 0.95. So that gives you 704. So that is 704. So your answer here is $704. Perfect. So that is how you're going to answer this question. So I hope you understand and appreciate how these questions can be answered. So that was the foundation level test GCSE 2017. Feel free to write your comments, share your views, and if you like and subscribe to my videos, that'd be great. You can always send your queries to my email address shown here. Thanks for your time and all the best.